problem. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the characteristics of a quadratic. So, a quadratic has a couple things. It's going to have a vertex, and it's going to have the axis of symmetry. The axis of symmetry is where you can fold it in half. It's going to have the x-intercepts and a y-intercept. And the vertex, which is always h and k. And if it's at the bottom of the parabola, it's a minimum, like here. If it's at the top of the parabola, Jack, then the vertex is a maximum. Hey, where's our cupcakes? It's Jack's birthday, by the way, and we're supposed to be having cupcakes today. This just flew through my brain. Happy birthday, Jack. No, because you didn't bring cupcakes. Where are they? You said your dad is bringing us cupcakes. It's too late. We'll be done by now. Okay. What are you doing? Get off that chair before you fall and hurt yourself. So, do you know what it would take to explain to Mr. Richardson? I don't know how he fell off the desk, Mr. Richardson. Okay. So, the vertex is the h and the k. We have the x-intercepts. That's where it touches the x-axis. And then we have the y-intercept where it touches the y-axis. So, if I look at the graph here, the first thing it asks is for the vertex. So, the vertex is here. So, that would be 2 and negative 9. The axis of symmetry is always the x-coordinate. So, that's 2. The maximum value is always the y value. So, this is y equals negative 9. The domain of every parabola every time, no matter what, is all real numbers. The range is bottom to top. Jack, I would hate to take that on your birthday, but I would. No, you weren't. You were texting and listening. Bottom to, no, he's not telling him to bring the cupcakes. Bottom to top. So what's the bottom of this parabola? Negative 9. The y-intercept is going to be where it touches the y-axis. So what does that touch at? Is it negative 5 or negative 4? Okay, so we'll call it negative 5. The x-intercept touches at negative 1 and 5. So what are the roots, zeros, and solutions? It's all the same thing, right? So this is all negative 1, and this is all 5. Come in. Push. It's all right. Who doesn't have an ID? Who's in here without an ID? David Flores, this doesn't even look like you. Is this you? How old were you in that picture? Like, you don't even look the same. But it's not the skin color. Like, you don't look the same. That's amazing. Okay. So this is the equation we're going to fill in. And for right now, we're going to use a equals 1. And so we're going to fill in the h and the k. And we already have the h and the k because it's right here. So I get x minus 2 squared minus 9. Because that's your h and your k. So why is the x a minus 2? Because this is subtraction, but you can always remember it because x is lie, right? So if I start with a positive 2, it has to be negative 2 here. Okay, x is live. Okay, so the next one right here that we're given, this time we have to graph it. We're given the equation and we have to graph it. So y equals a times x minus h squared plus k. Michael, what's the vertex? X is lie. That would be the k. Let's look in here, Lovey. Very good. So the vertex is negative 2, 3. So then what's the axis of symmetry from that? Negative 2. The minimum, we use the x, so now all that's left is the y. So I'm going to use the y equals 3. I'm going to come back to the x-intercept. I want to do the y-intercept next because it's easier. So for the y-intercept, my friends, what is the x equal? Always. So I'm going to take this equation right here, and I'm going to put a 0 in for x. Okay? So I'm going to have y equals negative 3 times 0 plus 2 squared plus 3. So what is 0 plus 2 squared? 4. So I have, so negative 12 plus 3 is going to give me negative 9. So my y-intercept is 0 and negative 9. So on my handy-dandy graph here, I'm going to have negative 2 and positive 3. And my y-intercept is 0, negative 9, so that goes right here. So the next thing I need is I need the x-intercepts. And so what equals 0 with an x-intercept, Carlos? Because it's not scrolling through on your stupid Instagram. So I want to find my x-intercepts. So what is y always equal with the x-intercept? 0, right? So I'm going to fill in 0 for the y. Well, yeah, let's fill in 0. And what I want to do is I want to solve for x. Can you look just a little happier? Thank you. All right. So I'm going to start, if I want to solve for x, I'm going to subtract the 3. So if I subtract the 3, so I still want to solve for x. So I need to get rid of this negative 3. And this is multiply, right? And what's the opposite of multiply? So I'm going to divide. So now we have something we haven't seen before. And so we have a squared. What's the opposite of squared? It's the square root. And what did we discover when we did the quadratic formula? When we take the square root, it can be a positive or a negative number, and we don't know which it is, right? So when I take the square root on both sides, when I do this, I don't know whether it's a positive or a negative 1. So I have to have both. So I'm going to get plus or minus 1 equals x plus 2. So the last step I'm going to do to get the x by itself is I'm going to subtract the 2. And I'm going to move it to the front because we have to do an add and a subtract. So I'm going to have negative 2 plus or minus 1 equals x. So I'm going to get two answers. I'm going to get x equals negative 2 plus 1 and x equals negative 2 minus 1. And these are your x-intercepts. These are your x-intercepts. So I get negative 1 and negative 3. So when I put them on the graph, Carlos, I get this.